you've got to accept the premise of this crazy situation. People asked Jim Backus and Natalie Schaefer, why did they take all those clothes? And he said, we had a big suitcase. Okay.
Actor Russell Johnson, the professor. Today on Now I've Heard Everything, I'm Bill Thompson. You know, back in the 1960s, for an actor to be offered a permanent role on a brand new TV series, that was a big deal. But little did actor Russell Johnson realize in 1963 that that part he was about to accept would become his identity the rest of his life. You see, he joined the cast of Gilligan's Island, this often cartoonish show that the critics hated, but which over the course of its 3-year run became a cultural phenomenon. The story of 7 people stranded on a desert island after a shipwreck, making things out of coconuts and bamboo. In fact, the show is still in syndication today, 60 years later, and still very, very popular. But after Gilligan's Island, Russell Johnson had trouble finding other roles. Even though he was on many other TV shows and movies over those years, he was always still the professor. And by 1993, he fully embraced that fact that that was going to be his identity the rest of his life. And that's when he wrote a book, a lighthearted memoir called Here on Gilligan's Isle. I had lots and lots of questions to ask him when we met one day that summer to talk about the book. In just a moment, our conversation.
Here's one that'll bring back some memories. One of the more than 10,000 interviews in the 30-year archive of national radio personality, Bill Thompson. Enjoy.
So here now, from 1993, Russell Johnson.
Can you put one thing to rest right away? The professor never built a nuclear reactor, did he?
No, never did. Came close, but the Israelis bombed it.
But you built just about everything else.
Well, that's true. He did everything, everything that was necessary. We didn't really need a nuclear reactor at the time.
No, but you needed the lie detector. You needed a little car to get around on the island.
That's right. We needed a washing machine. We needed some various ointments and
a full-scale replica of the minnow.
Absolutely.
That was apparently not seaworthy enough to actually get off the island. This is the thing I've always had, and you refer to this in here, that some people seem intent on taking the show so seriously. Why
true.
couldn't he build a boat?
Yes, right.
Darn it.
Yes, yeah. My answer to that is, by golly, that never occurred to me.
But it's the same, along the same vein, and you make a very good point in there when you say comedians owe their existence to the anomalies on the show. Why do they bring so many clothes for 3 hours? Why does a professor bring a whole library of reference books?
Yeah, the stand-ups have have had their say about us. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you've got to accept the premise of this crazy situation. People asked Jim Backus and Natalie Schaefer, why did they take all those clothes? And he said, we had a big suitcase. Okay. I thought that was as good an answer as you're ever going to get.
But there was something, many of us grew up as children watching the show, and it appeals wonderfully to children, but it has still an appeal 30 years later.
Yes, it has. Cross generations, into our 3rd generation, as a matter of fact. With your daughter here.
That's right. She watches religiously. She knows most of the episodes by heart, as do I. Mm-hmm. It's like an old friend when you tune in now. You know the dialogue by heart, but there's something comforting about it.
Well, it's a phenomenal kind of situation that none of us expected. It still amazes us.
And of course, all of you got filthy rich from the series.
Not at all. No, not at all. We haven't been paid anything in many years. The residual situation in those years was just at the beginning, and so the contract that existed then was for minimal payments, and we were paid very quickly, 6 runs, and that was it, and out. And now, I'd say the show went into syndication in 1967. I would say certainly by late '68 that was the end of any money toward us. So it's a reasonably cheap show to play. No one gets anything out of it except the few people who have a piece of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
So there are a lot of writers.
that's the story of Hollywood, isn't it?
I suppose so. A lot of writers. But for instance, today you can, if you go into syndication and you've got a series that's been on the air 3 years, you can become very, very wealthy, or at least very secure.
And not only that, but you made more episodes in 3 years than most series today make in 6.
Well, that's true, because we were based on the old radio formula of 39 shows and 13 reruns. That was the old radio formula. Summer replacement of Jack Benny for 13 weeks, or that, so we did that. We did 39 shows the first year. I think we did 36 the next 2 years, something like that. But as television developed and they made more commitments, the networks made more commitments to people, to specials, as shows moved from the half-hour to the hour venue and then to the 90-minute and then to the 2-hour, you began to lose prime time. And you began to, and also all these other commitments in seasons shrunk from 39 down to 18 and 16 and 15 for shows, which
It was a commitment to Gunsmoke, wasn't it, that eventually was the demise of Gilligan's Island?
Well, it's true. Yeah, we were picked up. We were on the air for 3 years, picked up for the 4th, and 2 weeks later were called and said, "Sorry, guys, you're out." Because the network had dropped Gunsmoke, which had poor ratings at the time. They were, I don't know, in their 10th or 11th or 12th year, somewhere in there. And the CBS affiliates raised so much cane about it that the network said, "Okay, we'll put it back in." And at that point, Gunsmoke was an hour show. And so they needed an hour, so they threw us out and some other sitcom, I think, that was going on the air to begin with and never made it. So that was it. That's showbiz.
Did you ever think, would there have been a final rescue episode if you'd known that was going to be the last season?
Oh, of course, yes. I also think that if we had made that 4th year, we'd have probably gone on for 5 or 6 or 7 anyway, I think. I don't think there's any doubt about it. We had good ratings at the time, but William Paley didn't care for us. We were not promoting the image of CBS, I think.
And Gunsmoke
It was nice in the ratings, and that kind of thing, and made a couple of bucks, but the critics hated us, and so we epitomized the vast wasteland that Newton Minnow talked about.
That's where the name of the boat comes from, isn't it?
That's what Sherwood tells us. Sherwood Schwartz, our creator, says yes, he named the Minnow after Newton Minnow, the commissioner of the FCC.
There were a lot of little inside jokes along the way.
Yeah.
This is I love books like this in which we finally find out after 30 years what was really going on in there.
Well, in our case, not a heck of a lot. You know what I'm saying? We were kind of a tame bunch. We got along very well. There wasn't really, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, really.
But it has become almost legendary, and you address this, and Steve does in the book, that Tina Louise was not. She was less than happy to be a member of this cast.
Well, that's true. Tina was not a happy person. She had been told one thing in New York by her agent and by a couple of the guys in the new suits at CBS, and told she was the star of the show and that she was on an island as a movie star with the rest of us. And she accepted that. And when she got to Hollywood, she had not seen a script. She found out that it was not so, that she was the movie star, but there were other people involved who might be the stars of the show. And it made her unhappy. It would have made me a little unhappy, too. And then, of course, Tina has a strong ego, strong personality, and so we coped with each other.
And, of course, that probably, I'm sure, didn't tell you or Dawn Wells that you were going to be the rest.
No, they didn't tell us that, as a matter of fact. That was a big surprise, and it made both of us very unhappy. And so we hollered about that, but there wasn't anything they could do about it until after the first year. We weren't sure at that point whether we were going to be on the air 13 weeks or 13 years, so we had to wait a year. Also, the first year was in black and white.
True. Well, although I noticed Turner is now colorized.
Yes, it's the only thing he's done about colorizing that I agree with. True. It lends itself to color. We were all very disappointed that the show was to be in black and white that first year. We thought, how silly. If ever a show lends itself to the idea of color, in the beginning of the idea of color, it was Gilligan's Island. But
and all the colors in the second, third seasons were so brilliant. I'm sure it was no problem for Turner to go back and put them on, because I was watching one just the other day, and until I realized that it was one of the first 39, I realized, that was supposed to be black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But the theme song is what actually sold the pilot, isn't it? The way the theme song explained how you got on the island?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that was one of the, if not the first, it might have been the first theme song that tells the whole story of how this came to pass. And it's been copied many times since in other ways, but I mean other shows. But that's it, true. And also, this thing was done. The theme song was recorded overnight in a garage.
After this short break, Russell Johnson answers the question, is the show really about the 7 deadly sins?
You know, AI is not just for 22-year-old coders. A lot of us older adults are drawing on our life experience to find unique and creative ways to use AI, at home or at work. Got an AI success story you'd like to share? Tap the link below to visit our YouTube channel, AI After 40, and let's keep learning together.
Now back to my 1993 conversation with the professor, Russell Johnson.
So much has been made of the show is supposed to be this, it's supposed to be the 7 deadly sins, it's supposed to represent this sector of society and all that. How much must we read into that? Is it useful to go through that exercise?
I think only if that's your bag. Okay. Otherwise, I think you're really stretching a point. That's reaching. Sherwood has said, our creator has said from time to time that it was a social microcosm. Okay, I mean, I can buy that. You can't play that as an actor. I doubt there have been college papers and theses written on this show, believe it or not. But I suppose you make out of it what you will. As far as I'm concerned, it was just a half hour of fluff and fun. And that's what it is. You can't make Hamlet out of it.
Well, in the dream sequences, you could, though, because you had to have a way to get off the island from time to time, didn't you?
Well, I mean, yes, you could make these attempts at other things, of course. But seriously, I'm saying you can't make. I'm sorry. You can't make something out of this that it isn't.
True.
Okay, this show. But we did have those are my favorite segments, by the way, the dream sequences that allowed us to do other things and have some fun in different ways.
Oh, all 7 of you had such a broad range of
a lot of fun.
It really gave us a chance to see, yes, you could all be really, really good in something other than...
Well, we were all good actors. I mean, we're all people of experience and good training, believe me. One of the things I suppose hurts your ego is the fact that I've had all this training. I've, serious theater work and done some theater, serious film work and so on and so on. And here I am doing this. And look at Natalie Schaefer. Natalie was a star in the American theater for years, worked with Gertrude Lawrence and wonderful people and George S. Kaufman and had worked in all kinds of films. And then she says, and here I am doing Gilligan's Island. But it was a job. Yeah. It was money.
Is that the power of television that until the day each one of you passes away, you'll be remembered as the skipper, Mary Ann, the professor, Mr. Howell.
No doubt about it.
A couple of weeks ago when Fred Gwynne died,
yes,
the Washington Post ran a picture of him as Herman Munster.
Yes.
2 seasons that show was on.
Is that all? Is that all?
Just 2. And Car 54 were both on for just 2 seasons.
Well, there you are. But the point is that it's in the reruns. It's in the repetition. It's in the year after year after year of being familiar with those characters. Fred Gwynne was a wonderful actor. I admired his work. I loved him in My Cousin Vinny.
Yes.
And, he was always a serious actor, too.
Now, going back a little ways, you could have been Ben Casey.
That's true. I was... probably came down to Vince Edwards and myself, and Vince got it, and that's fine. Also, shortly, and that was at a time when they were asking me if I was interested in testing for this Gilligan's Island, in which I said, no, I'm going to be Ben Casey. And then I had made a pilot film with Jane Powell, the young actress from MGM, in which she played a woman who was a star on Broadway, and her husband was a college professor, believe it or not. It didn't sell. And so I wasn't available at that point. The third time it came around, I said, hey, I'll go and audition. It was interesting, too. Some of the people who auditioned for some of these parts, Carol O'Connor auditioned for the part of the skipper, believe it or not. Dabney Coleman tried out for my part. Sherwood Schwartz wanted Jerry Van Dyke for Gilligan, But Jerry at that point wasn't interested in it. Who's gone on to being coach. I love his work. He's a funny guy. And this is one that gets me, is Raquel Welch tried out to be Marianne, not Ginger. Now, isn't that amazing?
But actually, though, I'm not surprised only because I thought I was the only one, but in talking with other men who grew up watching Gilligan's Island, I'm amazed at the number who say they preferred Marianne to Ginger.
Well, 99% do, I think. She gets the most fan mail, has always gotten the most fan mail, Marianne has. And no, I think that's because, she's the girl next door. She's sweet and of course beautiful. And I think there's something that puts men off about the movie star and the kind of unavailability of that character. See, but and I'll say this: Dawn Wells has maintained her beauty. I mean, she is absolutely a wonderful looking woman, and Tina has too, as far as that's concerned.
I saw Dawn Wells at the American Booksellers Convention a few weeks ago in Miami.
Oh, did okay,
they had her at the booth signing her cookbook, and the line was as long as for any, Oprah or Margaret Thatcher or anybody else. This line wound up and down the aisles for the chance to meet Marianne, have your picture taken with a lei around your neck, and get her to sign it. It was incredible.
It is incredible. I signed 250 books last night at Tyson's Corner. I had to stay extra long in order to get them all in, and I could have stayed longer if they didn't close the store. It's astounding, and that happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's amazing. People love these characters.
I wanted to ask you a somewhat serious question. You were in World War II. You were shot down, got the Purple Heart, which I'm sure most people don't realize until they read the book. But there were a couple of episodes of Gilligan's Island in which you had the Japanese the Japanese sailor who didn't realize the war was over. The castaways taken prisoner. Was that an uncomfortable time for you, or did that bring back any bad memories?
No, I never made any real connection about those kinds of things at all. It was just, I love the actor Vito Scotti who played those parts. Vito's a friend of mine and a wonderful actor. And, today you couldn't get away with that. But 30 years ago, you could, in a sense. But no, I made no connection about it. It didn't bother me in any fashion whatsoever. It was just my friend Vito expressing his talent.
One of the other stories in here that I really appreciated was, I think it was in Sherwood's introduction, where he gave you as a practical joke a page of speech to read, full of scientific, and you did it, he says.
Well, I used to really struggle to learn these lines because I might have conversations with people from time to time, but for the most part, the professor was always explaining things to people, and those kinds of lines are harder to learn and to maintain, to keep in your head. So I struggled for those kinds of things, but I always wanted to know my work. I mean, I'm a professional, and when I went to work each day, I knew my work. I knew my lines. I was trained that way. That was my job. And I looked down on actors who came in and not knowing what they were going to do that day. I mean, that's, to me, you don't do that. And so if Sherwood had written that, and then that was there, I came in knowing it. Well, I didn't know that it was not going to be used, that it was a joke,
Russell Johnson died in 2014. He was 89. Now you can get your copy of Here on Gilligan's Isle by Russell Johnson by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 1993 interview with Gilligan himself, Bob Denver.
My wife gets that from some people once in a while. It breaks her up. They say, "Is he like that at home? Like Gilligan?" She said, "Are you serious? I mean, you know anybody like that in your whole life?"
and my 1993 conversation with Mary Ann. Dawn Wells.
The creators of the writing. I mean, stop and think about what the silly things that they did. And then the prop people. I'm just crazy about what the prop people would come up with. The washing machine that Mary Ann peddles, and the little car, and the coconut tools to eat with.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, she is an actress who's been around for decades. Oscar nominated, Emmy nominated, Golden Globe nominated. My 2006 conversation with actress Diane Ladd.
You know, I've seen some fantastic things in this lifetime, and I believe there's so many things that we've yet to discover and understand. We have potential for vast miracles yet to be explored.
That's next time. Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.